Good morning, AP Latin. Good morning, AP Latin. I'm sitting here with AP Calculus. Can you say hello, AP Calculus? Okay, so let's take a look at this passage. Okay, so this one, the hike should be nominative because this is a passive verb. At. To whom? So gerundive of obligation uses a dative of agent. So seem to be wondered at to Dardania and Aeneas, but you could translate it also as these things seem to be wondered at by Dardania and Aeneas. He's the one who thinks that they should be wondered at. While he stood agape with one gaze, or one view. So while he stood agape, fixed in one gaze, he remains, he remains fixed in one gaze, the queen to the temple, most beautiful Dido with respect to form. She proceeded in with a great throng of youths, and with a great throng of youths being dazed or staying agape. So with a great throng staying agape or being dazed, and the great throng was made of youths. Now we get a simile here. Just as in the banks of the Eurote River, or through the ridges of Cynthus, Diana busies or exercises or trains the choruses. So Diana is the whom, the antecedent that's referring to. Whom, having 1,000 having followed, and 1,000 what? 1,000 nymphs having followed on this side and on that. The nymphs, the Oreades, congregates, or glomerantur is where we get the word for conglomerate. So rolled together. 1,000 nymphs are rolled together because this is a passive. That one carries a quiver on the shoulder, and walking she excels all goddesses. And her mother's name, so Diana's mother's name is Latona, so that's why we get the sense that joys thoroughly move or possess the quiet heart of Latona because she's proud of her daughter. Such was Dido, and she was carrying herself happy, or such she was in such a way, or such she was carrying herself through the midst, like through the midst of men. So Dido was walking through the midst, medios viros, pressing on, are eager for work and for future kingdoms. Then in the gates of the goddess, as in like her temple, the goddess's temple, in the middle vault of the temple, enclosed or enveloped with weapons, and having leaned against the high throne, she sits. Dido sits. She was giving justices or laws and decrees to the men, and she was equaling or kind of making into equal parts, in just parts. So she was equaling or distributing in just parts the work, like the labor of works, or she was drawing them by lot. So if there were unequal tasks to be done, then she'd draw lots to figure out who did it. When suddenly Aeneas sees in a great crowd to approach Antheus and Sergestus and strong Clanthus and others of the Trojan. So Aeneas is seeing his lost Trojan men come, and they're approaching Dido for some help, whom a dark whirlwind on the sea had scattered. And this means deeply, but here we could translate as like deep. Something that happens deeply happens very much so wholly. And so the dark storm had carried to other shores wholly or entirely carried away to other shores. he himself at the same time stood agape. So at the same time, he himself, as in Aeneas, stood agape. At the same time, Achates, having been struck, and I guess that should be a triple underline. What was he struck with? With joy, both with joy and with fear, because they don't know what's going to happen or what Dido is going to do to their friends that they just discovered were alive. Eager, so they're both eager, because that's a plural. Eager to join right hands, they were burning. They were desiring, eager to join right hands, the way that the Romans shook hands, holding each other's forearms. But an unknown matter disturbs their minds. They hide, and in a hollow cave
In a
they
hollow
hide,
cloud,
and they look out,
cave.
enveloped. And what do they look out for? They look out from the hollow cave.
Cloud.
What are they looking out for? What may be the fortune to the men? So they're wondering what happened to their friends. What may be the fortune to the men? In what shore they may leave, or they might have left. Even though this is a present subjunctive, asking the question on what shore they may have left the ship, or why they may come. And here quid is used as an interrogative. It's sort of like what they may come. In some languages, what can ask. Sometimes in English too, we use the word what to mean why. So we say like, what are you doing? We really mean why are you doing that? For having been chosen from all the ships they were going, beseeching favor or pardon or indulgence, and they were seeking the temple with a shout. So you would seek the temple as a place of refuge if you were captured. It's a kind of safe haven. So the men were asking or beseeching with a shout to seek the temple because they were picked up on the shores of Carthage by the Carthaginian soldiers. Afterwards, having entered and having been given an abundance of speaking. So this is a gerund, an abundance of speaking, having been given openly, or speaking, an abundance of speaking face to face, having been given. Greatest Ilynaeus, because he's the oldest of the Trojans, thus begins from peaceful heart. O Queen, to whom Jupiter to establish a new city gave the opportunity to establish a new city in justice, or with justice, and with justice to restrain or to curb proud peoples, because there were a lot of people living, or hostile tribes nearby. Miserable Trojans, we beseech you, having been carried through all seas by the winds. And here we get a tricolon because we have three different imperative, proive, parce, and aspice. So three parallel phrases. Keep away unspeakable fires from the ships, because it was unspeakable to be so hot. You're supposed to be hospitable, and so if you would set the ships on fire, it would be an unspeakable crime against hospitality. Spare a pious generation, to whom you're sparing is in the dative, and look at our matters more closely. We do not come either by iron or by the sword to devastate or plunder Libyan household gods, or to turn towards the shores snatched up prey or snatched up booty, like captured treasures. Not that power is in mind, nor such proudnesses to conquered ones. So he's saying the Trojans are conquered, and they not that sort of power in mind, nor such haughtiness to conquered ones. There is not such haughtiness to conquered ones, or proudness.